when I was working at MTN, okay, there was this please go check out the previous part to gauge your bearings, get into that type establishment thing. When I was working at MTN, there was this colleague that I had, a black South African girl. I think she was Venda Oshangan or whatever, and she was a colleague slash friend. And I was, I guess, waiting on the Lord for a husband. I was already born again, and at that stage I was waiting on God for a man that came from just about anywhere. And low-key, deep down inside, I wanted a man from Africa, not South Africa though. I wanted a man from up there. I was low-key spazzing over Senegalese men and Ghanaian men, and my low-key obsession with them was because of, one, there were these fly boys at work that were from Ghana that was just so beautiful, and I was like, I want that, right? So, but they were taken, so I was like, I want me that, like, give me that. I want that. Yeah, I made an observation of their glory. They were tall, they were beautiful, they were just big, okay? And South African men have an issue with being short. Again, more judgments. Like, you are literally being judged. Like, if a guy can say to me, I prefer my women short, then God is going to make you short since you like your women short. Like, I'm a tall woman, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And that guy, Onari, he likes his women short. In and of himself, he was a tallish guy. And yet he's out here dissing me for my height. While there are so many tall women all over Africa, and they manage to marry men that are taller than them. If anything, Africans are known for being tall, except for here in South Africa. Another thing that we don't have going for ourselves is hair. Like, everybody else in Africa has hair except South Africa, so I don't even know why South African women are so arrogant. Because your hair does not even grow as well as hair of women up tops there in Africa. We are the only ones that have issues with growing out in too. Like, proper. Don't you see that you're judged as a people? You are judged. Your hair don't grow, and you're super freaking short. Men and women alike. Your bone structure, like, is substandard in comparison to all the other people in Africa. And I don't have any muscles. You don't have me sifa. I'm suffering from that. You're not strong. Not all of y'all as Castasimenia. But all the other women, like in black culture in South Africa, we have this thing. We like to say hurim. Mahua, like banyana ba mahua banale because they fit. Like they've got firm legs. They toned. They've got naturally toned physiques. White chicks. But that's a South African observation, because Tina, we are the ones with these pudgy, soft little, our muscles don't make sense. Most of us soft, and that softness of ours, that round shape that we have as South African women, it was appreciated very much by men, especially from other parts of Africa. They absolutely loved our jelly bums and our jelly thighs. The fact that we are not as toned and as firm as many women up in Africa, right? They wanted that, and that's why a lot of men up there in Africa were so besotted with South African women. It's because of Boraundabo Baron. But when you start to become all gangster arrogant, God will then change the trends of the world, where it is that round pudgy shape now that you got, where you barely ever can build muscle on your body, even when you try. The world ain't trying to feel that anymore. We now covet but they're firm toned bodies. We want them. And it's not, we used to say that black girls are the ones with the lack of muscle mass, lady ankle stairs dotla type thing. Yeah, until you go up to Africa, that's the thing. Like, that literally, that is just the thing. When you go up to Africa, you will notice that the girls there, they've got those toned legs. They've got that definition in their ankles. You know, where it is that you can see, like, yay, batung, that's an ankle. It's like sticking out, like bone structure is very, very defined. And those are also the kind of the chicks that they go for in the modeling industry because of their bone structure. But we don't have that as South African women. Like, proper, the thing that you prided yourself in having, like, down for yourselves has now become yesterday's fashion. That's what happens when you are arrogant. That is what happens when you're arrogant, when you're pompous. When you think Umuntu is always going to be chasing after you because of Sarah Bartman, well, it doesn't really make sense, or it doesn't really matter when you're Sarah Bartman, Mara, you are jelly. Okay, it's a cellulite all over the show. When you go up Goko Africa, those women don't eat, they barely have any cellulite because they are so toned. They are so from birth. They're just like that. Their skin, natty. South Africa is, we suffer terribly from acne in a way that many other nations in Africa just don't. We suffer terribly from acne. We keep on popping pimples as kids, but we'll go varsity. First year, that's one of the things that I noticed with all these other kids from Africa. Their skin was flawless, in a way that ours just wasn't. We were the ones out here popping pimples. How you are going to experience such issues? They also don't, we age faster than them because their skin is darker. That's the thing. All the things that you underestimated about them now are the main thing to run with. Bafit and they're tall. And so because they're tall, they keep on getting scouted as models all over the world. They keep going to Milan, Paris, etc. Yeah, and the South African chicks, yes, we do indeed exist in the modeling industry, but largely it's not us. It's not mostly us that they take up. It's not mostly us. Latella, you are disrespectful, and so now you're losing your clout across the world. You think you're the baddest and the prettiest and the most beautiful, the most gorgeous, the most unaging, the most whatever, South Africa, like proper. You deserve everything that is coming to you. You are arrogant. You are arrogant. And that's why your hair doesn't even freaking grow. You are arrogant. Is that like proper? You are not going to be given glory by God when you underestimate everything of glory that you have, that God has given you. Everything that the Lord has awarded you with, you are going to find yourself severely wanting now that everybody else across the world, it literally is appearing to be far better than you. They don't grow past like 1.68 meters tall. Everybody's taller than them. If you go and look at black men in Africa, the rest of Africa, they are like avatars. They're freaking avatars. Why are your men not avatars? Except for one or two. The odd occasion Tamba here in these streets be out towering above Kobe Bryant. But the rest of them, at least we'll give them that much. That's your South African men for you. Paji, you deserve it. I ban otlotella ha kana ke o ka kra easy as a man. Ha ban otlotella ha kana ke o ka kra di hips as a man. I ban otlotella ke o ka ba mogutshwane je ka mme wa teng as a man. Seeing as you prefer your women short, that dude went on right ahead to tell me he prefers his women short. Well, if he had gone on right ahead and made out of me a wife, I would have guaranteed him tall sons. Now he's facing the risk of bana ba gagwe ba bashimane ending up as short as the woman that he, I guess, took as a wife, seeing as she was the right height. When you're gonna go and offend women like that, the Lord will mess up your stats. He will mess up your stats like no man's business, and you will wish that you had not been that disrespectful. As a man, because you insisted on dating a woman because you were discriminating against the tall ones for no other reason than the fact that you prefer your women short. I am unlovable as a woman. I'm too much of a giant, and I'm gonna bash my chest on a mountaintop like some butch, unmarriable Amazonian woman because I'm tall. Well, my height, just by the way, is actually quite short for an African woman. Everywhere else in Africa, it's just that in South Africa, I tower above them because that's what we are. I tower above South African women in a way that I don't tower above other women across Africa. So that's why you disrespect the living daylights out of us. That's why out of God. Why get us? I'm from here. You disrespect the living daylights out of everybody else from Africa. You disrespect the rest of Africa, and now it is catching up with you, slaying you in the worst way. All of these men that are like tall, like trees all over Africa are precisely that height because those African women elsewhere, they're tall, and so those men are fit and proper for them. They are fit and proper for them. So what on the heaven? Oh, are we with all that arrogance? What are we supposed to be doing with all of that arrogance? South African women, I had a dream. You see this arrogance that you've been walking in all these years, the xenophobia that caused you to refuse to want to date men from Africa because you thought that would make out of you a whore, and secondly, that would also make out of you somebody that's downgrading. Even though these men treated you better, yeah, now you're stuck with your violent thieves, aren't you? Now you're stuck with your butchering jabus, aren't you? Abo Themba benu babhizi ngama gender-based violence. Abo Sibusiso benu, nabo Sizwe, all of y'all's like Sibusisos. All of y'all's like freaking Zintles and Mandlas. Babhizi kamo kadi literally driving them into your necks because you think the guy from Senegal get rubbish. When I was working at MTN, did I tell you that story? There was a chick. I was about to tell it, but then I went into the next part. There was a chick there that was, like I said, she could have been either Venda or Zonga or something, or Shangan, and she was my friend. A type establishment thing, and the reason why I highlight that she was Venda Zonga or Shangan is because my Venda Mazonga Lima Shangan Lebona, they tend to look like men from upper parts of Africa, Mara, because she's from South Africa, Onatella anyway, and she had the whole Venda look, meaning that if at all she would keep quiet and not speak a word, people might actually confuse her for either a Zimbabwean or somewhere else upper Africa mole. Mara just cause Njefela, Umo South Africa mo, Momzansi, Uzoteka ID book ele green MP, snacks, what and I'm like, girl, like Papa, Luena, you have likely experienced a lot of persecution in your life simply because you don't even look South African. You look like you're from upper parts of Africa because of your Tonga heritage or what have you. Just cause Njefela Bodara has put you inside South Africa instead of outside of it. It's a whole cancer in the country. And this chick, at that stage, I was already born again, and I told you guys that I started to be attracted to men from Africa, other parts of Africa. Not only when I came to Christ, later on in life, Grandshot, the Congolese friend that I had at Wits, sort of kind of drew me to men from outside of South Africa because he was such a good friend. He was such a decent guy that I was like, yo, nah, if I'm gonna be loved like that, then I'm going Congo, dude. I'm going Senegal. I'm going Kenya. Like, I don't care. Like, give me an African man. Give it like a proper. So I started to want an African guy to a point where I even wrote a novel. Not a novel, I wish. It was like a small little booklet. I called one of my colleagues, I gave it to her to read, to review, and she was like, oh, Karabo, it's so romantic. Anyway, whatever. And in my book, my main character, my romantic novel character, was Senegalese. He was from Senegal, and the woman was South African, right? The characters in that particular story of mine, that love story of mine. Yeah. I wrote that. I was yet to be saved, so it was kind of worldly, that little book that I wrote, type establishment thing. Anyway, whatever, I gave it to my colleague to read and she liked it. What a fish paste. And my character was Senegalese, and the only reason I chose Senegal was because Kimang, or who was Senegalese that I saw on TV, and I was like, yo, Kanti, they look like that, and I just thought they were so hot. Yeah, whatever, I ran with some public Senegalese figure that was like in the entertainment industry type thing. And I was like, yo, hey, go cute lapaya. Yeah, so I started to sort of kind of develop not so much an obsession, but an interest or a desire in being wed off to a guy from Kwakohagan, somewhere else up there, all right, type establishment thing. And I told this chick, I was like, I want a man like from Senegal or maybe Kenya or something. And you know what her question was? After this Tsonga Shangan / whatever chick, she was like, aren't you xenophobic? Girl, how you gonna say that? Like, you got a whole 9 to 5 at MTN. Like, that's the kind of stuff that can get you put in some disciplinary hearing with HR. Like, you can't be saying stuff like that. Like, it's not okay. Yo, she literally asked me if I'm not xenophobic. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not xenophobic. And I just left it at that. I did not enter into the conversation much more deeply, but I was concerned that she could so easily say that. I was concerned. But that's the thing. There is, like, they don't see any issue with it in South Africa. Like, they just don't see any problem with it. And my thing is, Chiki, we're now Mushangan, that is underestimating people that look exactly like you. Because they look like Shangans up there as well. You and your xenophobia that insist on marrying a Zulu man, a Tswana man, a Xhosa man, a Venda man here in this country. Yeah. What's good? You're gonna be stuck with the butcher. Okay, Jack the Ripper, that's you. Like, you be out here walking these streets with Hannibal Lecter. Like, you be out here hang-tanning because you think it's romantic by Ted Bundy. Like, let that be your husband. The man that's gonna put you in the ground. Because that's what these South African men are. They be out here putting women in some caskets, and you insist on them. And it was your persistence on these butchering Shotim Bodala men of yours that I was met with a whole bravado, girth of arrogance in my dream, being insulted by women that had all protected our butchers. We shall call them that. They had protected our rapists, our Korobela gangsters, our boyfriends and husbands that laugh at us when we dump them, our cheating randos that don't even see it necessary to be loving towards us. These men that when he's busy stroking your cheek with a, like, looks of endearment is telling you umuhle wena ebusuku kuphela. Bagabi aja in these streets, when you tell him you love him, telling you don't wear it out. You say it too much. Yeah, these guys that force you to have sex with them husina condom because the guy's like loins, his lust, his hormones are through the roof at the expense of your future health. These guys that will thoroughly go and take drugs on you while you have made that a deal breaker because they trust you're not going anywhere. The guys who will tell you that some other chick is hotter than you, so keep calm, be still. Relationship because I can do better than you. Yeah, like men like those who then also graduate from that level of like just violence of moral turpitude, just a rottenness within. Over and above it, they then go and they just hang you like all 9 months pregnant and stuff on a tree because your name is Tsegofatso Pule. Or is it 8 months pregnant? Yeah. Bankeng bontutugo balona, boshoba, boshabalala, bomazibugo, bovilagas, batateni, abomngubebenu, nabomgadi, batateni, Hlongwane benu, go and grab your muloyis and your tabengs and you get my point. Balateng, kaufela, bana baba mo South Africa because you insist on it. At some point, I got to a point, Nami, because I love South African culture. I used to. I got to a point where I was like, I want a guy from these streets. I want a guy from South Africa. He must be largely from Agasi, so a bit of a Soweto setup thing, so we can speak the same lingo. Mengbafuna high and low. Labo South African santings. Mengbafuna. I wanted them. And then the same guy from Dube, the same guy from Zola, the same guy from Diepkloof and Pimville decided that he's gonna put an axe in my head. The same guy from Kwamashu who made a decision nje, and I'm like, as in, take your buggers, aba violent. These Hlongwanes that out here be roofing your drinks with Korobela. Lama tota that block you from getting married, even though uhambile na wachata imedia kon. The guy Ole, he prefers his women short. He went and married another woman. He chose to stay in the media corner. He was greedy, therefore. He was rapacious, therefore. When he made a decision, yeah. Batateni, Ben, Batayeng, guys. Go and grab your Ntebes, your Madondos. Batateni la matota benu in South Africa. I don't want him. I was supposed to realize the grace of God in all those women who were giving their testimonies when I was in my early 20s, saying, hey, nah, I dated a guy from out of South Africa, up tops, and I've been treated so well. I should have not opened my heart to dating these guys that were not from South Africa, because I might one be married today, and to a man that would love me in a way that I've never been loved before, that would not tell me when I'm saying I love you baby on the phone, don't say it so much you might just wear it out. What is it? Okay, bye, because I was a naive teenager. Now today I would probably shoot him through the phone. Making women violent and stuff like Cindy Mankele. Yeah, that's what South African men calls women to do. Commitment. Self-blog tango. Archer singing he had it coming. He only had himself to blame. That's what you convert women into. Now she's a bitter broad. Hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned. Ngoba bhizi ujola nabo shabalala la emgaqweni la eroundini uyamfuna high and low umloyi akazingeni indaba za anyone other than umazibuko wakhona hadikeni daba tsa ho jola le anyone but Motshehare wa mo batla kankane because o batla South African surname o batla mabitso a South Africa o batla mabitso a mantla a Setswana tshegofatso tshimologo tshiamo tefo tebello le wa batla bo botle mabitso a kaofela. And so because you are obsessed with your culture, given that you think it's the only one that's worthy of looking at la emgaqweni, uyomthatha lo mshangani wakho nalomvena nalomzulu wakho uyamthatha nomxhosa wakhona wamulata nje fela feletse la ntsa foforile ngwana batho wa Motswana wa Motsai obomunyana ebentwana toba ya teng e be itshega o re batla divorce cause o wa go ignore aba go tshega o ga go tsotse o zebra o imeka ngwana heavily pregnant with your third pregnancy bese ba busy zebra ngoba o feel nje just for today ukuthi ku important to offend you, to insult you. Uma wakhona makamchika ngoba wena you're treating indodakazi yam like rubbish bese ahleka both wena no ma wakho tsagalili too, and then goes and grabs a mistress on the side. Ha o qeta o mo divorce aba khutla a le moputswa wa nkutlo a le moputswa a tabogile Bogart Bogart ya teng of which a khotella ka yona ya 1995 because ke telele that's what's good. And then you take him back because you're feeling that a prodigal spouse has been restored to you. Bayathanda ukubuya, they love coming back, and you always keep taking them back in. Amadoda azothakatha some other woman here in these streets lankutla anyetsi kaofela mosadi a felletseng a beile ring kaofela nya dunya vuma ai cause he thinks go do dila ka Amanda Black le la sauce nya dunya vuma ai kana ngingi funa wena wedwa I can't be waiting for you getting I dunya vuma ai. All you want to do is singing umculo ka Amanda Black no la sauce. And so you walk down the aisle, mankata lapo 10 years down the line, the same bugger, the same tepo jabu temba, that you busy ex-girlfriend high Karabo. He's literally bewitching his ex-girlfriend while married to Lerato. Hebatung. Abuti as tunufelo nara asiki asimsaid wa how kumfazwa. So manje wa also busy no pink. These guys are busy bewitching their ex-girlfriends. Sometimes it's just strangers on the internet. Women, you must never marry. You must. Oscar, right? Whoa! I had a guy that I wasn't friends with him. He was crushing on me in primary school. High school went somewhere else different. Happy go Facebook later. He had a whole girlfriend that I was always looking at his photos on Facebook and some, oh, he's so sweet. What a romantic. He grew up so nice. Gah. Witchcraft. Because he was embittered by Tabari. He had a crush on me in primary school and I rejected him. Even once upon a time there was a drama play. He came and watched it and I was in the play at school. This little bugger, ever since he felt rejected by me, then makes a decision, even though Megana Mediake, I would imagine as well. And everything. He was in the entertainment industry in this country. I believe now he's behind the scenes. Random rubbish from primary school with the freaking sausage fingers. Yeah, that's what's good. Amanda Black that was like, dude, we didn't even date. We didn't even like consider dating. You were just staring at me like a little creeper, peeping Tom from the distance. You did not even have the bravery to confront me, to approach me. Cause no sort of guabab. How get them over tumpa kaditara ola Amanda Black and la sauce can neti. Tala lindi la munyum tan. Wamlanda wanku buntle mudiselle. More music video and yeah, pretty ugly. Version pretty ugly in this little pretty ugly rando. About to make a decision no ex-girlfriend, not ex-girlfriend. Some chickie was crashing on in primary school. Go primary una ne crash. About to molata ngwana batho dalanga lindile. Bathong le nna galenze ke batho lindile le nna ke batla go lonya idunya vumanyai. Nami ngifuna ukuyovuma. Bana bazingena indaba zakhona. Abasibhayisi ke lemsa gore nna ke lovuma mara bona ba vumisitse bo la sauce ka mo strateng kam ho lokile wa itse keng banna to bankeng bo gender based violence ba lona basadi tuwe ba mo South Africa tlhaloganyang this much pompous arrogant buffoons mamela rezang nkutlweleng la nkutla I guess bias ke lemsa lona I had a dream of your typical randomness. I had a dream of your typical pomp, ne? In this dream, you were thoroughly sitting in what looked like a caucus, like a meeting of sorts. Members of the United Nations literally deliberating on a decision on what Israel must do in Gaza, even though they are a sovereign state that gets to make their own decision. And you thoroughly, one of your Anthony Gateras, Kabang, thinking you're speaking truth. What happened in Gaza is not an isolated incident. It didn't happen in a vacuum. All these people have been suffering suffocating occupation. There was an Anthony Guterres in this group. Caucus of random European nation member states out there trying to impose a two-state solution on Israel. I was like, Skipan lan. Dintang. It was a caucus of South African women that reminded me of the United Nations and how it's dealing with Israel. And I was like, just because you is the UN does not mean you is making any sense. So I don't like you. I don't like you. I've dished you long ago, Mpumegini. You're already a done deal, but right now, Langdella, you think you're the only people's coming through for me? Like dreamer. You've been giving people attitude all across Africa, and now I got attitude inside your own borders because I belong to you, and I'm sorry that I was born here. I would any day now move to any other country in Africa than Lana. I am properly even considerate of the prospect of marrying a black man insofar as he is not South African. Angizibhayisi ke lem sa South Africa yonke mayihlangene ke a ka lo bheshwa motlhogong lo thunywa ha ke na taba le lona cause latella le tshwana le Guterres latella le tshwana le European nation member states literally imposing rubbish on Israel. And right now, even though and you undermine me Jaka Benjamin Netanyahu undermine America I don't care that you think you can deliberate over my case, because bottom line is I am a sovereign land and I'm making my own decisions whether or not you think I'm committing genocide in Israel. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm gonna finish this thing to the end, and it's all or nothing. I kill dengi bo chicken lankutwa cause the khetile bo bochabalona le ba khetile bo Jack the Ripper bo Moses Sitole. You chose your little serial killers, okay? And you stuck with them at the expense of your own souls and lives. And now that you are busy smashing each other into walls, I'm like, look at the carnage go. Of course, it's been arrogant all this time, so now they're imploding. So of course, Watotella, as they are sinking. These women were literally deliberating on my future. I was like, hey, banna modimo kopa re tlotleng ka batho basadi bana ba mo South Africa hobaneng wa bua ka bokamoso ba mina izang ka re bana le any control over bona. Some Anthony Guterres version of this group of females was actually trying to like discuss how it is that batonga ke ha re ka qolla Karabo bona re musile ngwana batho a utlwe botlhoko how dare you guys treat her like this? Hey, yeah. Mara tshwantse go reach middle ground. Sisters, I don't need your help. If God before me, God, can't nobody be against me. I don't need your help. South African women, get that. I literally do not. My future is not in your hands. Like what? Like you've been thinking you own Africa. You've been thinking you own everything except you are fluffy, flaccid, and you are tossed to and from by every wind of doctrine. So really, you don't believe in Jesus. You believe in Jesus. You believe in Allah. You believe in Buddha. You believe in reincarnation. You believe in yoga, kundalini spirits. You believe in the air, the sun, the moon, pigs, dogs. You believe in your own hair follicles. You just don't believe anything. You stand for everything, and so you fall for everything. And so why would I take your deliberation antics seriously? Why would I take anything you have to say about my future seriously? You've been messing with Africa the rest of all this time. And at some point I was duped and deceived by you, but now that I see that you're happy to be dragged through the mud by your serial killers, I see that you're too dumb to be listened to. Like right now, all of y'all currently, you've got literally, you're walking around Kadi Samente, you're limping all over the show. Some of y'all are disembodied, you don't have arms, you're lacking fingers, eyes are gouged out, you are lacking hair. Some dude done ripped it out, and you are out here blue eye thinking that you can deliberate over the case of a woman that has not been scathed. Not even a single hair on my head has perished, but you think that you can mediate for me. Because this random bugger of yours has insulted you so much. Somebody saw all these creams on the market until you got melasma, cloasma. Because Barrier would not stop mocking Tabayarwa so far. These men that don't regard you, they don't praise you, they don't acknowledge you, they don't validate you, they don't wine, dine, romance you without first teasing you like proper. And then when you try to leave out your proper 6 feet under, yeah, like I said, you're walking around in crutches. Some of y'all are in wheelchairs altogether because of your boyfriends. And you think you can deliberate over my case? You shock me. You think you can deliberate over my case? About how it is that I'm like, I'm sorry, you stopped having an opportunity to deliberate over my case the day you left me to get raped by a bunch of monolithic beasts in this country, just because they can. The day you abandoned me at the hands of men, the day you left me to suffocate at the hands of this menacing monster from America. Up and down strata the day you ignored me for 2 years when I was busy saying that. And so now that it looks like that's when I made a decision on South Africa. You've been underestimating the poor for a long time. You've been underestimating other countries in Africa for a long time. You've been underestimating your allies for a long time. You've been burning bridges. Right now, you've burned a bridge with Israel. You've burned a bridge with America. You've burned a bridge with Canada. You have burned a bridge with many of the European nations, and you have gone on right ahead and allied yourself at least for 5 seconds with all the enemies of God. And then on top of that, you are persecuting your Christians in the land. And then on top of that, you are standing with butchers of boyfriends and husbands that own a secret society where they are controlling how you think. And you think that you're in a position to mediate my case. I'm sorry, I am rather here, the one that's offering you humanitarian aid. Look at you, little refugee. That's what you are, South Africa. You're a refugee, seeing as you don't have an actual home. You don't. Because you don't belong to Iran, you don't belong to China or Russia, you also don't belong to America or Israel, you don't belong anywhere. Why? Because you literally stand for everything. You have been mocking everybody for a minute, and now that you're falling apart, you think you can deliberate on my case? Nah. You ought to listen to everything I say so you can fix your lives, instead of thinking you have anything to do with my recovery. Thinking that you can throw me back in corporate South Africa and have me walk on eggshells around some deadbeat boss that's envious of my giftedness. That's not ever gonna happen. You left me unemployed until I had no desire to belong to your stupid system. I'm trying to get a business running. I'm trying to get my own thing going. And I cannot be with any of y'all's deadbeat men. That's what's good. That cannot stand the prosperity of women. I'm not doing it. Tatani South Africa yenu eni moshile. Namatota enu anklape like no man's business. Nive lama blue eye. Bese nyawa concealer, nya makeup, and then act as if don't jabulile emi chatweni. Eni korobere like no man's business. Lilwe like no man's business. Mara le batla lo solve a situation ya ka le ka sheba mo harapele. Matlo alone. Look inside your own homes first. Look inside your own hearts. Ke halika jonga your own ecosystems kala before you imagine ukuthi you're in any position to come and fix impilo yami ebhlungu. Impilo yami ebhlungu is here indeed. Kodwa ngisaphila mina. I don't have an axe in the center of my head. Why? Because mina ngiwabalekile la madoda enu are violent. That's pale in comparison to the rest of Africa, but they think they better. Y'all suck, and you sucked for a while. And now that you're falling apart, you want to hold on to people you kicked out? I am part of the diaspora. Is that basic nyamba? Whether or not you want me to stay, and to think about Fazindini, that you can sit around deliberating on my behalf. Listen, you helped them. You help these violent buggers. Some of you are married to men, but somebody busy about the extra born. Another one not over comfortable name. Let's see them how I took along or extra thing. Maybe we'll talk on a maybe we'll talk on a follow blue eye and none to wear pataka makeup. Maybe one day you'll be able to walk around in these streets with a bare face without para makeup because Monakaho repented from busy bewitching his ex-girlfriend. But right now, but now I'm busy, but it's more good by the food, but the ex, Abahono Yalabanavato, Labana Bahono walk down the island, like it's a sauce. Abahono Loba Amanda Black, Habahono Loba Bontemudi sell Lemostrating Monabalong Yala pretty ugly Habahon, cause of Toripo, Hockey, Twabang and Ahal, yeah, guys, this thing is not going to happen. Tabaho, you think you are in any position ya go thusa ga le mo life ne ba tsebang wona or Karabo tsa mo jole monneng wa ko Ghana or Nigeria o tla ba right ka hana nna because I listen to your South African rhetoric. It's racist and xenophobic, but now I'm cured, and so I'm now saying just like those Ethiopian chicks that will not even look at me or wherever it is that they were from. They were not Ethiopian. They looked like they could have been from Ghana. Just like those 2 Ghanaian chicks in my complex that looked at me like I stank because they trusted that I was going to give them attitude, given that I'm South African. I'm now looking at you with attitude too. I see where those chicks were coming from. I see why people in Africa, when they are in South Africa, when they're black, they treat South Africans with attitude. They treat them that way because they expect you to treat them that way. It's a defense mechanism. They're guarding their souls. They're guarding their hearts. They're watching themselves from not being offended by you. And so they pass you shade first before you pass it to them. And that's what I'm doing now to you South African women. You underestimate everything that can walk, talk, and speak and jump up and down like a kangaroo. Halina maiteo, halina tompo, and on top of that, you leave women to die until it becomes clear you are embarrassable. You are embarrassable. You leave women to die until you get busted for leaving women to die. All these women that have passed away from gender-based violence, it's all of y'all pick me, Mazibugo, pick me Mono, pick me Mube, pick me Mgati, pick me Shabalala, all over the show. Lama bata high and low to a point where you are prepared to throw other women to the dogs in order to get them. Liberata hure, lanza bali tumpaga di korobel. Liberata hure, lanza bali tumpaga control spell in the marriage. Also, getting the spirit is a mind control. Liberata hure, lanza bali busy baloya di ex-girlfriend is a tenye ole mosadi wa teng. Liberata hure, balateletse morago nkarele mogsela di ex tsa bona. Hure! Hade buddy, please do not think you're in any position to help me along. So arrogant, literally deliberating about my life and my future like they actually have a position to deliberate. And in their deliberations, the majority of the stupid caucus was trying to leave me suffering, while their little Antonica Terres trying to hook up a 2-state solution was out just saying, Karabo has been suffering for a long time. We agree that Israel was broken into, but please, let's just put it out there that really this is not within a vacuum that this thing all can't, because the people in Gaza have been suffering suffocating occupation for a very long time. Suffocating occupation, couldn't even breathe. But Israel must respond to what was done, but they must just remember the rules of proportionality. Like, shut up. I don't need you, little Guterres the chick, Guterres C, Guterres S, Guterres the princess, and you dingy sister girl. The fact that you're the only one that's out here trying to foster any kind of mediation solution in the presence or climate of other South African women sitting around zombie meditating on the spot on whether or not to actually do anything for Karabo. South African women, I don't need you. Because herein lies the deal. You're one little country in Africa. Africa, of which is a continent in a planet that has other continents on it. I don't need you. You are few in number, and YouTube is global. So too is Facebook. Social media is international. You're not the only ones listening to me. So please do not imagine you're the only ones in any position to harness me out of this. You cannot hoist me out of this because you are still holding on to your deadbeat butcher husbands. I don't need you. I really don't. Watateni amadota enu that have no self-control. But as for your little help, Antonica Terras, I got this. As a sovereign state, really I do. I have Jesus. If God be with me, who can be against me? Certainly not you. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Langbor. Bye.